the title of this video is I Can't Make Ends Meet After Buying a Franchise. It's a clip from the Ramsey Show, and we know they love to stir up drama and controversy. I have watched a little bit of this clip, but it's been about a week or two, so let's see. I remember I had a couple of strong opinions as they were going through this, so let's check it out.
2 kids, and I own a business that we just opened back in June. It's really taking a lot of time from us. My wife and I are both working at it full time, and we're not making much money yet. And so we're just kind of stressed about bills and stuff. We're kind of wondering how we can organize our lives better to be able to make more money and move forward.
Okay.
What kind of business is it?
So it's a franchise that a friend of mine and I bought into, and it's a cookie store.
And it sounds like we got a myriad of issues. So I heard we got to organize, but then we've got to.
What's funny is in the comments of this video, when people heard cookie store, everyone assumed it was Crumbl. But I'm going to probably shatter that assumption here in a little bit about it being Crumbl or not.
I figure out if this franchise can actually work. So which is the bigger problem? Spending or budgeting the money, the little bit money you're making? Are you making any money at all? What's the bigger problem here? Because I heard several things.
So I guess to get more specific, so we have that business. I'm also a realtor on the side. And so any extra time I have, I'm spending on that trying to sell houses and stuff. I'm new at that too just a few months ago, so I'm just barely starting to make money. The business itself, the cookie shop, isn't making really anything. We're just barely breaking even. And then we're just doing all kinds of little side hustles where we can, DoorDash and Uber Eats and delivering for Walmart and stuff like that. So,
all right, so let me ask this. Who is – yeah, I got an idea now what we're talking about. So is it you, your buddy that you mentioned, you the 2 partners, and your wife is also –
Okay, so this person bought into – they're running a franchise. They are a realtor on the side, and they're new at it, and they're Ubering, DoorDash, and all sorts of stuff. I mean, can we already see what's wrong with this picture here? Look, what's that phrase? Jack of all trades, master of none. If you're not going to commit to one thing, especially when trying to start and run a business, you're going to drop you're going to drop probably all of the plates. Focus on one plate. Focus on getting good at one thing. This is a classic thing of, someone they starting a business or buying a franchise and just not going all in with it. Go all in. But let's keep listening. It gets more entertaining, believe it or not.
Helping out because you can't afford to pay anybody. Give us just a little bit more clarity on that.
Yeah, so we did stuff the stupid way because we hadn't found Dave Ramsey yet. Mm-hmm. And so a friend of mine, he's just a silent capital partner. He put in money up front and helped us get into it. And we have a big loan on it.
How much?
It's $250,000.
Ooh, mama.
And you owe 125 of that?
Yeah, so I owe 70% of it. Yeah.
Oh shit, no, that ain't 125. Last time I did.
Oh, that would be
okay. So you owe 70% of it,
and the rest you owe to your.
I'm the 70% partner.
Oof, and you guys aren't making anything. You're barely making it, keeping the business going. It's just barely making.
Do you know why? Do you know the problem?
Basically, yeah.
Have you figured out what the problem is?
Well, kind of. We think we do. So our sales were really, really good when we opened in the summer, and we would have made money, but we didn't have our expenses under control. Once we got our expenses under control, we cut payroll costs really down. We got control of our inventory costs, stuff like that. We're doing a lot better on the expenses side, but our sales went down when we hit the winter. Mm-hmm. Part of that is because our marketing budget was kind of gone, so we weren't making as much because our marketing was suffering.
Did you expect that? Did you expect that it would get slower during the winter, considering, it's the winter and folks aren't just out?
Yeah, and in Missouri, the winters are pretty brutal and cold, so yeah.
Okay, so you expected this, but it was too early to have had any reserves kind of piled up, is what you're saying?
Right. Yeah. So we're just barely making it. But yeah, my capital partner, he's out in a different state. My wife and I are here, and we're operating the business.
And how many hours are you working, the 2 of you, on this cooking shop?
We've been able to bring our sales up just a little bit, so we've been able to hire one more part-time person. But my wife and I are each putting in about 25 to 30 hours a week.
All right. So what?
25 to 30 hours a week. That's a part-time job.
I'm trying to figure out, Jade, is they got to make money.
You got to go out and get business. You're a cookie maker. If I'm you, and this is just me, I'm brainstorming ways they can make money. If I'm you, I'm trying to host every party, every wedding, I want to cater every event with dessert. I'm going to companies and saying, what can I do? Because you've got to make money. Otherwise, this is not going to do well for you. And I want to know if my competitors are making money, because if they're making money and I'm not, then I do know that I'm doing something, not only doing something wrong, but I'm not taking advantage of every opportunity that's out there for my business.
Yeah. Well, and I guess there's kind of another part, and that's just I'm really worried because I totally get what you're.
Thank you. I'm glad she said it. At the end of the day, the people who succeed and win in business are the people that are great at generating revenue. I know that sounds so obvious, but business owners and operators get so stuck putting out fires and working in the business and not on the business, and working in the store and serving customers, as opposed to focusing on ways, how can I bring more customers in? How can I go out and generate more revenue? There's a phrase, sales cures all. Right? So go out and generate some business.
You're saying that's where my head is too. Is like we need to get our sales up. We need to get our sales up. That's all we talk about with the business. And so I'm trying to reach out and get catering orders and stuff. But then we're worried because the more time we dedicate to that, and it's not a sure thing that money will, the sales will go up. That takes away time where we're doing like door dashing and stuff, and we're trying to pay the bills on the personal side. And so that's kind of where we're stressed.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming in. I don't know. I'm going to tell you something. If I'm going to do what we always do here, and I'm going to answer this the way
go Ken style.
So I don't know what you're going to say. And I'm anxious to see what my
I remember what he says here, and this is interesting and I think valuable.
Partner says here on this. But if I were you, I got to take care of my family first. I'm not worried about the cookie business. I'm really not, because I hear it in his voice, and I think there's a greater reality here. And I'm going to try to keep the cookie thing afloat with other part-time people. This is already a slow season. You and your wife have got to be spending time actually making real money, taking care of the family. And I'm not sure that there's a future on this cookie deal. And I'm the kind of guy that I don't.
Okay, so not being sure that there's a future, guys, read the stories about entrepreneurs who bet everything, who risked everything, who struggled for years to build a business and get it up and running and to make it work. And it's never a sure thing. So if you're looking for a sure thing, don't start a business. That's the part of his advice that I don't agree with, because you just never know when starting a business. Could work, might not work. It's an emotion roller coaster, so don't go looking for a sure thing, because there never is one. And it goes in waves. Some days you'll be sure, and some days you're unsure. And it just, you go through levels of uncertainty and uncertainty. But let's listen to the rest of what he says, because it does evolve into a very valid point.
I want to prolong misery.
Yeah.
I want to cut bait at some point. I'm not saying it's now. I'm not willing to say that because I don't know enough.
Yeah.
We have
Guys, he's not even a year into the business, and you're talking about cutting bait. That's like, what did they say? He was like 8 months into the business, 7 months in the business. That's like you have a 7-month-old baby, 8-month-old baby, and you're like, yeah, my kid's not walking yet. I think maybe they're just not going to walk ever. Like, no, they're just not at that stage yet.
At a time, Jade. But I do think the most important thing is that one of them has got a full-time, decent paying job that will at least take care of the family. So again, this is ideal. What I do, I'd go either Ken or Stacy has got a full-time job that takes care of our expenses so that our family doesn't go below water. And then we fight to keep the cookie thing alive until we can apply some lessons and hopefully get more foot traffic. What do you think?
Yes, that is a beautiful point there. One of them, go back into full-time work, into a job that has benefits, that has a full-time salary, where your family can be taken care of. You have a strong foundation set. The other person goes full-time in that business. No more of this side hustle stuff, no more DoorDash, no more real estate stuff, all in on the business and making it work. And then even the other spouse that does have the full-time job chips in and helps after hours or on weekends when they can, and that's how you get it to work. This is what my wife and I did. Initially, when I opened up my first franchise location, when we bought it, I still had my job as a financial advisor. Right before we opened the location, I left my job, and my wife was supporting us financially while the business was getting up and running and going. Fortunately, we were able to get profitable in just 2 months, just 60 days. And we were able to start pulling some money out of the business pretty quickly. But you need that person that has stability. And then later on, we kept that location. We moved 2,500 miles away to Florida, bought a turnaround resale that was losing money, kind of breaking even. And I went full-time into that thing. My wife still had her full-time thing, which she's been an entrepreneur for 20 years. So we had the stability. And then once I got, after almost a year, about 6 months, 9 months of being in the turnaround business and being full-time in it, working 50 to 65 hours a week. And once I got a manager in place and we increased sales by 30% year over year, then I went back to work, because now we had it solidified. And then COVID hit and everything went to hell. But yeah, like it's a very valid point, and just the judgment call about the way that these people are making their decisions. It's just lack of strong judgment, and this is why some people do fail in franchising, because they never gave themselves a shot or put themselves in a position to succeed. Other part of this, by the way, is that Crumbl cookie locations make a bunch of money, by the way. I'll pull it up in a second, how much money their locations make on average. I know a lot of people hate on Crumbl. What happened was there were a bunch of competitors and copycats that came out seeing how much money Crumbl was generating in revenue and how people were going crazy over them. And what happened was none of those brands did a fraction of the sort of sales or revenue that Crumbl did. So if this is one of those copycat locations, I mean, I saw some of those franchises. They averaged like $450,000 in sales a store. $450,000 in sales in a retail-based food franchise, like it's almost impossible to make money. It's very, very difficult. You really need to be at basically 500 to 600,000 at minimum, unless you're running the business really well and strategically. So let's pull up what Crumbl locations make. All right, so here's what I did. I pulled up Crumbl Cookies average store sales. So the way franchises work, they all have to file what's called a franchise disclosure document, and in the franchise disclosure document, they can decide to show franchise sales performance for their franchisees. They can't make this stuff up. It has to be based off of real reported sales. So let's look at Crumbl. Crumbl, their average, you can see it right here, guys. The average in 2024, the average Crumbl cookie location did $1.35 million in revenue, $653,000 in gross profit, $251,000 in net profit. The lowest performing location did $383,000 and still $10,000 in profit. That's shocking at $383,000 in sales. Highest performing location, $3.47 million, $763,000 in net profit. So granted, I don't think this is for all of the locations. Out of the 968, 858 locations turned in their complete financial report, which equates to about 81% of the total franchise location. So it's a pretty good indication here. If I were to pull up one of the competitors, the numbers don't look anything like that. You know what? Maybe let's do that just for and giggles. All right, so one of their competitors, they don't even have a recent franchise disclosure document filed. So I pulled up one of the competitors that was big at the time and had a lot of drama with Crumbl, including a lawsuit, and they opted to not disclose any financial performance of their locations or stores, which, ladies and gentlemen, that is typically not a good sign. If you have a business where you're trying to attract investors and franchise owners, wouldn't you want to show them what the financial opportunity is? Yeah, unless it was not doing well. So let's wrap up this video. I just wanted to put that to bed, that I'm making an educated guess that this is not a Crumbl cookie location.
I 100% agree. One of you needs to be working full time and find a full time job instead of doing all these odds and ends. I think that's also part of the equation here, is you guys are burning the candle at both ends in many different ways. I'm curious to know. I know you told us the actual debt. I'm curious to know what you're burning every single month. Like, what are you losing? What are you losing every month? Because you said you're not making money.
So we were losing money. We've gotten to a point where we're either just breaking even or making about $1,000 or less.
And when you say break even, does that include you guys paying yourself, or that's just you keeping things on and keeping things going? Okay. Yeah. And then my next question before the next question I'd have before making this decision is, have you ever run a successful business before, or is this your first go around being an entrepreneur?
So as a brick and mortar business, this is my first attempt at all. I've done other like side hustles and stuff, like helped with marketing for other businesses, helped with bookkeeping for other businesses.
Yeah, I think this is going to be different.
Did you see? Did you see the look on her face? She's like, yeah, okay. She kind of gave a roll of the eyes. Yeah, I mean, look, that's why there's a power in having a successful business on your belt. You know what it takes. You know the strategic actions that take to run a business and get successful. I had 9 failed businesses prior to my first business success. And this was me trying to start businesses on my own, kind of side hustles here and there. When we took $300,000 out of our house in a home equity loan and started our franchise, I went all in and burned the boats. And then, ta-da, we wind up building a successful business that eventually we exited and sold. And then so when I started Franchise Empire, eventually I was able to take what I learned in the strategic side of it and the going all in and making good decisions and start something from scratch and be able to get this business into, multi-million dollar business. So if you like this sort of video, these like reaction videos about people and franchises and their businesses and drama and controversy, then there's one here of me reacting to a Shark Tank episode that wound up turning into a franchise, and there was all sorts of drama around it. Subscribe before you go. We'll see you on the next one.